Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, the blue light is on. Hare Krishna. Dandavat to all the devotees, mostly disassembled devotees, I think. The blue light is on. That means we are going live from the Bhakti Yoga Center, the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, West London, Bhakti Yoga Institute, I think. So, I was wondering what to read, and just recently again I've started the Shri Shri Prapana Jivanamritam as the new year began, as we were recommended to do by our guardians. And reading through the foreword by Srila Siddha Maharaj, Srila Guru Maharaj, we're always, what's the word? Astounded, we can say, by his foreword that can stand alone as well. It's wonderful and perfect, most perfect in the way of Srila Guru Maharaj. We're just talking with Saraswati Didi. We heard that perhaps Mark Twain or one of the American authors said that the difference between a good word and the perfect word to describe something is like the difference between a small firefly and the radiant sun. As an author, that was his feeling, that you can find a good word for something, but that's not the perfect word. The perfect word is something else again. And one of the many unlimited qualities of Srila Guru Maharaj was his ability, in not his first language, but in English, was to so perfectly express the Krishna consciousness and these concepts and ideas of Krishna consciousness in the line of Srila Prabhupada, Saraswati Thakur and Sriman Mahaprabhu perfectly. So we can read, when we read his books and we hear from him, we get all fired up. Oh yeah, this is fantastic. I want to try and remember this, And then when we're talking with someone, maybe we can get the gist right, we can something. But really, hearing from him, reading his words in such a beautiful and perfect way is always the best. You can't overestimate that. So I thought we could read the foreword to Shri Shri Prapana Jivanamritam. And it's a little long. It's not so long, but it is a little long for now. And it's very dense. It's Guru Maharaj giving the foreword to this book and giving everything within that. A drop of the infinite is also infinite. So it's a drop of infinity that came from the glorious pen of Srila Guru Maharaj when he was putting together this collection of verses that is the Prapana Jivanamritam. And there is before the foreword, there is a short introduction also by Srila Govinda Maharaj, talking about the publisher's note. But I think we'll come back to that. We'll start today with the foreword, because we'd like to finish that over the next couple of days. So we'll start with that. Jai Shila Bhakti Rakakshida Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Shila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to the Divine Master and the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Forward. Because the soul is a particle of consciousness, it is endowed with free will. Eliminating free will, only gross matter remains. Without independence, the soul could not progress from bondage to liberation, and his ultimate salvation would have been impossible. But his spirit of exploitation is a foreign force, an intoxicant, a miscalculation that surrounds his independence. Life's objectives may be scientifically analyzed as threefold: exploitation, renunciation, and dedication. The most common tendency is in those engaged in exploiting other persons, species, or elements for mundane sense enjoyment. They desire to materially elevate themselves in the present environment, and thus they are described as elevationists. A more sober class discover the severe, equal, and opposite reactions to worldly pursuits, and they engage in renunciation of the world in search of an equilibrium comparable to a deep, dreamless slumber. By being unawake to the world, they hope to escape its concomitant reactions and sufferings. Thus their goal is liberation, and they are known as salvationists or liberationists. But through the correct interpretation of the revealed scriptures by learned votaries such as Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Ramanuja, the devotees of divinity know the pursuits of both exploitation and renunciation as not only fruitless, but injurious to real progress. Injurious to real progress. The normal, wholesome, and happy plane is in the life of dedication, without exploiting or borrowing anything from the environment, and without attempting to artificially renounce it. One who is sincere to dedicate himself naturally comes into contact with a higher and more subtle plane of life. By his readiness to give and serve, he will attain to a higher society and achieve an appropriate master. The enjoying spirit forces one to be associated with a lower section to control and enjoy. And the renouncing spirit allures even the scholars with its prestigious superiority over exploitation. Thus it is more dangerous, just as a half-truth is more dangerous than falsehood. As it is difficult to awaken someone from the deepest possible sleep, the liberationists may remain for incalculable time within their cell of non-differentiated liberation. But the higher existence will invite the service of one who desires to purely dedicate himself without remuneration. Hare Krishna. Seva, service, dedication, is the summum bonum of the teachings of the Vaishnava school, the third plane of life, where every unit is a dedicating member in an organic whole. In such a normal adjustment, everyone mutually assists one another in their service to the center, the higher recipient, the highest entity. Everything is existing to satisfy him, because he must possess this qualification to be the absolute. He is the prime cause of all causes, and everything exists for him to satisfy him. Hare Krishna, wonderful. And these beautiful little sutras of Guru Maharaj, like the organic whole and the plane of dedication, are just perfect descriptions or analogies of where we are and where we can, the different paths we may take in our quest for happiness and our quest for the joy and pleasure that we're always looking for, how we will find that. He says, a barren conception, a barren, empty conception of mere deathlessness cannot afford us any knowledge of a positive thing, but only freedom from the negative side. So to be immortal is one thing, but for what? For what purpose? Otherwise, it's just an empty idea. For what? If immortality means no influence of mortality, no death, what then is its positive conception? What will be the nature, movement, and progress of that which is immortal? What's it going to do? What is its nature, movement, and progress? Without this understanding, immortality is only an abstract idea. Because it does not appear to exhibit the symptoms of death, a stone would be more immortal than human beings. And conscious entities would be mortal, forever denied immortality. What then is the positive conception of immortality? How are the immortal immortal? What is the positive reality in immortality? How can one become immortal? One must search out his intrinsic location in the universal order. It will not do to attempt to solve only the negative side of life, which is full of suffering, birth, death, infirmity, and disease. We should know that there exists a conception of life worth living for. This positive side has been almost totally neglected in general religious views. The immortality professed by the schools of Buddha and Shankaracharya yields no positive life. Their goals are Maha-Nirvana and Brahma Sayujya, respectively. The Buddhist theory is that after liberation, nothing remains. They crave absolute extinction of material existence, Prakriti Nirvana. And the Shankarite monist theory of liberation is to lose one's individuality by becoming one with the non-differentiated aspect of the Absolute. That is, they crave extinction in Brahman, Brahma Nirvana. They postulate that when the triad of seer, seen and seeing, drashta, drishya and darshan, or knower, knowable and knowledge, gyata, gyeya and jnana, culminate at one point, the triad is destroyed, triputi vinasa, and nothing remains. So a lot of, they've thought about this. They've got a whole conception of how to extinguish through the, to overcome the negative with no knowledge of the positive. Material action and reaction ceases. Material action and reaction ceases in viraja, the river of passivity, which is located at the uppermost edge of this illusory Mayika world. And above viraja is the destination of the Shankarites, the abscissa stage, or the non-differentiated plane of Brahman, called Brahmaloka, which is located at the lowest edge of the spiritual realm. Both are vague areas of negative immortality. Brahmaloka is a marginal or buffer state midway between the material and spiritual worlds. Composed of innumerable souls, it is an immortal plane devoid of specific variegatedness, nivishesha. It possesses positivity only in the sense that it is a plane of existence, a background, kashta, but in itself it lacks positive development of variegated existence, kala. The nature of the background is oneness, and development woven over it necessitates plurality or a differentiated nature. Kala, kalastadi, lupena, parimaya, pradayini. So, how we doing, everyone? we following along? It's Guru Maharaj is starting from the beginning and very clearly explaining to us the different phases of life and the different goal of different outlooks, philosophies, conceptions. In the Bhagavad, so we'll just read a little bit more because it's a lot to take in, and we'll just read a little more. In the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, 16th verse, mutable, kshara, and immutable, akshara, existences are described, representing the personal and the impersonal, the development and the basis, or differentiated and non-differentiated conceptions of general existence. Guru Maharaj pointing us to the Bhagavad Gita. The mutable is represented by the multitude of embodied living beings, while the immutable aspect is the great expanse of the all-accommodating absolute, the Brahman. In the analysis of worldly action, the most subtle form of unfructified past action prior to the present tendency, the seedling stage to sin, has been defined as unknowable, indistinct, and of untraceable origin. The immutable Brahman aspect of the Absolute is similarly defined as being one-dimensional, undetectable, unspecific, and of no definite color, sound, or taste, an unknown and unknowable, ununderstandable stage of existence. Kuta. But the Supreme Lord, Krishna, is above both the mutable and unmutable existences, and thus his glories are sung throughout the Vedas and in the world as the Purushottama, the Supreme Personality. Sri Shukadev Goswami affirms that in the most remote and distant plane, Lord Krishna is to be found everywhere. Everywhere is he, the fountainhead of all conceptions. He cannot be eliminated. Thus, the immortality of the impersonalist schools, such as Buddhists, Shankarites, etc., offers no positive life. But in Vaishnavism, immortality is positive, dynamic existence, above the non-differentiated Brahman aspect of the Absolute. The transcendental, variegated existence begins in the first glimpse of the spiritual sky, the plane known as Paravyoma. Situated there, in the spiritual plane, is the positive kingdom of God. Firstly Vaikunta, then Ayodhya, Dwaraka, Mathura, and finally, above all, Goloka. Transcending the vague ideas of negative immortality that the impersonalists aspire for, the devotees, the Vaishnavas, dedicate themselves to the life of eternal devotional service to the Supreme Lord of the transcendental realm. Although the soul can maladopt himself to a fallen state of existence in the planes of exploitation and renunciation, he is inherently adoptable to the positive life in the kingdom of God. And fully blossomed, he reaches the realm of Goloka. Svarupe sabadahai golokate stiti. So this Sri Prapana Jivanamritam, this is the forward to that work. So Sri Prapana Jivanamritam. Amrita means undying, undying, or nectar. And Jivana means life. Positive immortality is possible only for the surrendered, prapanam. All others are necessarily mortal. Only those who have wholly given themselves to the center are living in eternality. Hare Krishna. Surrender is fully established in its excellence and its constant position. Surrender is fully established in its excellence and its constant position. Yet there is variegatedness within that consistency in the form of progressive movement or pastimes, vilasa. Hare Krishna. The Supreme Absolute Personality, being infinitely superior to both the mutable mortals and the immutable, immortal, negative Brahman, only the Svarupa Siddha souls, those who are perfectly established in their divine relationship with him, are eternally freed from the disease of mutation and mortality. With a broad vision, we must know ourselves as created of similar stuff, and thus only with assistance from above can we improve our situation and achieve a position in the higher plane. A submissive, serving attitude is necessary in us. If we submit, the universal dictatorial aspect of the Absolute will take us upward to a higher prospect. He is the autocrat, the absolute knowledge, the absolute good. Everything about him is absolute. Being in a vulnerable position as we experience in this world, why then should we not submit to him? Being in a vulnerable position as we experience this world, why should we not do that? Submit to him. The road to the sphere of transcendence, adokshaja, is the deductive or descending method of Aroha Panta. We can reach the absolute good, the absolute will, by his consent alone. Only by faith in absolute surrender is anyone allowed entry into that domain. Never by exploration, by colonization, or by attempting to become a monarch there. No inductive or ascending method, such as renunciation or yoga, etc., can compel him to accept us. Whosoever he chooses can alone reach him. Although the highest point of the renunciates is desirelessness or freedom from possessiveness, the surrendered soul, Sharanagata, is naturally desireless. Akinchana. Detachment is only the negative side of surrender. And above selflessness, the devotee surrenders himself to the higher substance, and thus he is to be awake in another world, another plane of life. Such is the positive Vaishnav conception of life, to determines one real self beyond the jurisdiction of the world of misconception. The nature of the progressive substance is eternal existence, knowledge, and beauty. Sat Chit Ananda. What a fantastic sentence. The nature of the progressive substance is eternal existence, knowledge, and beauty. The one harmonizing organic whole contains all similarities and differences, held inconceivably in the hand of the Absolute. Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. And there is no anarchy in the Absolute power. Nonetheless, mercy is found to be above justice, above judiciousness. The supreme position is held by love, sympathy, and beauty. I am the absolute, this is a quote from Bhagavad Gita, I am the absolute power, but I am friendly to you all. Knowing this, you need never fear. 5th chapter, 29th verse. This revelation relieves us of all apprehension. We are not victims of a chaotic environment, but it is judicious, considerate, and the ultimate dispenser is our friend. So Jiva Goswami has stated that of the 6 symptoms of surrender, to embrace the guardianship of the Lord, Goptvitve Varanam, is central, since total surrender expresses the same ideal. That's what it is, embracing the guardianship of the Lord. The remaining 5 symptoms of accepting the favorable, rejecting the unfavorable, faith in the Lord's protection, full self-surrender, and humility are natural contributing associate servitors to the ideal. Surrender is the foundation of the world of devotion. It is the very life and essence. One cannot enter into that domain without surrender. It must be present in every form of service, and to attempt divine service without it will be mere imitation or a lifeless formality. The entire gist of the Vedic instruction is to dedicate oneself to the service of the Lord. In his commentary of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Shuddha Swami Pad has stated that only if the practices of devotion are initially offered to the Supreme Lord can they be recognized as devotion. To attempt to execute them and subsequently offer them cannot be pure devotion. Without surrender, the activity will be adulterated with exploitation, renunciation, artificial meditation, karma, jnana, yoga, and so on. By constitution, the soul is the Lord's servant, and the Lord has the right to make or to mar, to do anything according to his sweet will. If accepting this truth, we undertake the devotional practices such as hearing, chanting, remembering, and worshipping, only then will our activity be devotional. Only the activity of the self-dedicated soul can be devotion. Only the sincere prayer will help us to seek the help of the Lord. But again, prayer in the spirit of surrender can alone reach him. The path of devotion entails increasing our negative status to invite the positive to descend and embrace us. I am very low and you are so high. You can purify me. Take me and utilize me for your higher purpose. So be pleased. Otherwise, I am hopeless, helpless, neglected. It is impossible to take him captive in the cage of our knowledge. Only the way of devotion can help us. In every respect, he is high, great, and infinite, and we are similarly small. His mercy, his sympathy, love, and grace are the only medium through which we can come together. And good faith is autonomous in that sweet land. And good faith is autonomous in that sweet land, which is so high that we will earnestly hope and pray for the association of the higher existence as his slave. And that will also be our happy prospect for the future. So I think we should stop there for now. This wonderful forward to Shishi Prapana Jivanamrita, where step by step by step by step, Guru Maharaj is giving us a glimpse of that land of Shraddhamayoyam Loka, the land of faith, the land of surrender, whose characteristic is beautiful, beauty and harmony and sweetness and ecstasy. That's one. Hare Krishna. So anyway, I don't know who's out there, but if anyone has this is on Facebook. So anyone can leave a comment or a question or anything like that. If anyone has some question, then tomorrow we can try and get some kind of interaction going is good, because otherwise it's a lot of words and it's evening time here in London anyway, so it can be hard to follow.
That word mar?
Mar, make or mar, it's an expression, it means make or break. He can make it or mar can destroy it. That's up to him. That's up to him. We, our diseases, we live in the world of calculation, and it's all what do they say? Gadadhar would tell me what's called when the data is corrupt. Yeah, you get your data, your disk gets corrupted, the file gets corrupted, it won't open because something's happened to it like that. The data's wrong. So our data's all like that because we have imperfect senses. So what we're seeing isn't what's happening. What we're hearing, we didn't hear the whole story. So we don't see reality. We just see a little piece of it. So we've got limited information. Then it goes to the brain, which is like, once it's calculating, okay, so what I want is this and that and the other, and how am I going to get that? I'm calculating away. Well, if I can just do this and go there and get that, then I'm going to be so in ecstasy and happy, everything will be great. That's and Guru Maharaj says, your calculation is cancelled by the infinite. He says our independence is our enemy. We think we can put that together and achieve what what the heart is always hankering for, love and beauty and sweetness and relationship, all those things, that we'll get it by our calculation. And the sadhus tell us, no, never. It's impossible. You're dealing with the infinite. You're trying to navigate the infinite, and by your little, what the Gurudev used to say, puppy brain, like you think that you're gonna, if that for real heart, the life of the heart, it's all going in the line of Sharanagati. This which is the, to lose faith in our own calculative abilities, and to take the words of the Lord, and in the Prapananija there's the words from the Lord himself, the words from his devotees, to go in that line. So it's 180 degrees, from what we've been trained to do and what we're used to doing. But we've tried for so long and so many lives, we've been following that approach. And who was saying this morning or sometime? It was Devashish, I think, was saying yesterday speaking that the Guru Maharaj was saying something like, when so many times we've done this, so just at least in this one life, just in this one life, try and Give it a try, you know.
Nothing to lose, right?
You've got nothing to lose, you know. At least give it a try. And really, when they get nothing to, I mean, Krishna said, Arjuna asked that. Well, what happens if I try that? You know, and don't succeed. I know what I'm like. I'm not very hopeful for my chances of success in this endeavor. And Krishna just says, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm meeting you there. I'm behind you, and you know, you'll wherever progress you make in that line, you won't lose that. You'll keep going in that trajectory. So anyway, I can point everybody to this. It's the whole Sri Prabhupada Jivanamrita is a drop of immortal wonder and nectar, and the forward is very succinct and wonderful on its own. So everybody can read it in their own time, you know, because sometimes you don't get past a paragraph or two, really, if you're reading, because you have to stop and think about it, and sometimes it'll bring up, he'll quote a verse, or you'll go and look at something else to augment or support that. So it's a beautiful world that Guru Maharaj is giving us a peek into very clearly, of the different ways of approaching life. That's what it means, really, these conceptions and all these philosophical words. It just means how you see the world and how you think you're going to get what you want. And ultimately, what we want are those things that live in the conscious world. They're not, you know, the beauty and sweetness and love. They're not, you can't find them in the lab, you know. So the sadhus are pushing us towards that world. That's where you have to work in your inner, you know, you're changing our consciousness, changing our way of seeing the world as from exploitation to dedication. So that's what we're trying to practice, and we're praying that we can continue trying in the association of our wonderful family and well-wishers under the affectionate shelter of the lotus feet of our Gurudev and his divine servitors. So
and in this world, like enjoyment, or people believe that happiness is enjoyment.
Right.
And love it's attachment. It's really attachment. It's not really love. You know.
Right.
So they try.
Right. Yes, and then the Lord comes as cruel death, you know, and takes it all away from us anyway. So, and the process is very sweet anyway. That's the thing. It's not like we have to sit on rocks, you know, in icy water, you know, like that. Our process is very sweet, you know. Actually, the songs we sing are sweet. The food we offer becomes prasadam and it's very sweet. Dressing the deities, all these things are very relishable. So we have to, but we want to be serious, you know. We want to try and we're praying that we will become devotees. I'm praying that I'll become a devotee one day, and trying to pray that with some sincerity and. Pray for sincerity, I guess, is what I'm doing. Try to pray for some sincerity in that endeavor. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So anyway, we'll, what are we going to do? Hare Haraya Nama Krishna. Yadavaya Namaha. Another beautiful song to end the little broadcast. Hare Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Keshavaya Namaha. Gopala Gundaram Shimar Sudham. Gopala Gundaram Shimar Sudham. Jai Srimati Shishi Guru Gauranga Sundaradha Giridhari Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Shila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Deva Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Shila Bhakti Ramkar Shila Deva Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Bhagavan Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Guru Vaga Ki Jai. Shri Prabhupada Jivanamrita Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees Ki Jai, all the unassembled devotees Ki Jai, Nanta Koti Vaisnavinda Ki Jai. Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.